his wife has committed this. But then they will not apply the law to her without checking with her, and if she counter swears and said this is not the case, it's false, and so on, so and so, then she will not be punished. So, in such circumstances, if the law provides this kind of leeway, how then can we make these kind of judgments? Parents will say, well, okay, my son heard the daughter saying some things. What were the circumstances in which it was said? You overheard it in the telephone conversation. What's the circumstance in which the conversation was said? So, we don't just jump to, hey, let's just kill her because she was dishonored our family. Question, really, sisters basically complaining about some of the brothers in choosing wives, what they tend to focus on. She writes, and this is Sister Yasmin from Dubai, writes, Dear Dr. Bilal, could you explain our priority when choosing a companion? Well, that's a spouse. Because so many brothers ask about nothing but the woman's beauty, and sisters ask nothing about the man's income, but about the man's income. Aren't we missing something here? Yes, definitely. There is a tendency for the men, because they're the providers, so they're not really that much concerned about the money, to want to choose the most beautiful person he can find. And that's not wrong if he takes into account her piety, because that's primary. Prophet ﷺ said, well, young people, whoever amongst you is able should get married. And in choosing the right spouse, one should also make sure that the person they're marrying or choosing is a person of good moral reputation. Very important, because that person can destroy the life of others if they're not kept in check. And on the other hand, the sisters tend to ask nothing but about the income. How much money is he making? Of course, this is among the things that she should ask. A woman should know that her husband is earning sufficient to look after himself and her and children if they come. So it's quite, these are two reasonable skills or whatever that could be asked about. Person goes up and say, aren't we missing something here? Well, yes, and said if we stop here, piety is number one. For a woman to find somebody with an economic means to look after her, this is very important. But piety is more important, because if that person is not pious, he doesn't fear Allah, then he could have all the money in the world, but it will not be accessible to you. So it is very important that both husband and wife have, when choosing their partners, should do so based on the priority of faith and belief and piety and consciousness of God. These are the things which should be foremost. If the person has all this right, then the other things are like icing on the cake. If she happens to be beautiful, he happens to be handsome, he happens to be wealthy, has got the means, he's got a good job, that's all the much more better. But, as I said, primacy should be given to the piety of that young woman. Okay, question concerning the aqiqah. Dr. Bilal, why is one animal sacrificed at the birth of a female and two for the male? The aqiqah. Wassalam. Muhammad Rida. Why is one animal? This is the general practice, although it's permissible that one animal be sacrificed for both. This occurred even with the Prophet Muhammad. But as a general rule, the Prophet encouraged the sacrificing of two sheep or goats when a male is born and one when a female. Why this distinction? Why two for the male, one for the female? Well, we could look back in terms of inheritance. How does the inheritance go? It goes two portions for the male and one for the female. Why? because the male in the family circumstance has double the responsibility. He is doubly responsible for his sister. So though he may have gotten twice as much as her, he can only use from it as much as would have been normally given to him. So what we're looking at now, when we make the aqiqah, even in the case of one slaughter, we are in fact signifying to Allah that this wealth that you've given us, we appreciate it, we'd like to share it with others. But when you slaughter the animal, you should give some to the poor, you should consume some yourself. So this idea of giving some to the poor, this is sharing in the wealth which Allah has given us. This is a very strong principle that we all need to reflect on and to follow. Now, there is another aspect, though, of the aqiqah, in that the two animals which were slaughtered for the male, as I said, represents the role that the male is to play, but it's also the parents giving thanks, it appears now doubly thanks, for that male than for the female. And why would that be so? Well, the point is that the responsibilities of a male are far greater. He will be the one responsible for the family. If father dies or whatever, he tends to be in a position of greater responsibility. So, the Prophet ﷺ, based on instruction from Allah, prescribed that only one animal needs to be sacrificed in the case of a female, and two in the case of a male. But that two in the case of a male could also be one, depending on one's means. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Dr. Bilal Phillips. In India, culture is the barrier for polygamy. You are looked down for marrying a second time. The first wife will not give consent for the second marriage. Okay, these are 3 points. The cultural barrier. Person being looked down at. Consent not given by the wife. Well, first point is that consent of the wife is not required. For a man to take a second wife, what is required is that he has the economic means to look after that second wife. And that he knows within himself he will not be of the type to give all his time now to the second wife and leave the first wife as if she is divorced. This is something which is spoken against. So when a man takes a second wife, it's not that he now enjoys the second wife and he leaves the first. No, she brings something new into the relationship, and he should continue to function with them justly and equitably. Secondly, you are looked down if you marry for the second time. Well, if we consider that the Sunnah, the way of the Prophet ﷺ, and his leading companions, those who were promised paradise and others, was to marry more than once. In fact, many of them married 4 and died, having married 4. Then we have to consider that it is something which is not limited to that period of time, something which is natural to human beings. Wherever one goes in society, one finds people involved in polygyny, marrying more than one wife. Even the so-called monogamous North American male or Western male from Europe, England, or from USA. Though they have this barrier, the reality is that they don't live in accordance with it. But there are a number of cases which do arise where young men will come and ask about what to do. Are they allowed to take a second wife? And they're considering it, shortly after marriage. And us to advise them, well, no, settle down in your first marriage first, get yourself settled. If you then have the means after you've settled in and the marriage has progressed, then you may consider it. Now, the other issue, which is that of being looked down upon, well, I mean, we have to look at it in the context of any sunnah, anything which Prophet encouraged us to do. If people look down on us in doing it, so what? If it's pleasing to Allah, then we go ahead and do it. If it's going to create a lot of confusion, a lot of harm, we have to weigh this thing because it's not something compulsory, it's just something recommended. If we see the harm coming from it as being greater than the good, then it's better to leave it. That's just a general principle. With that, dear viewers, I'd like to thank you for being with us in this segment of our program, which is In the Light of Islam. And you may contact me if you'd like to write in at PO Box 111, Sharjah Television, UAE. You may email me at my website, bilalphillips.com, that's one L in the word Phillips. Or you may fax me at 97116 5323 724. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.